Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Zurich-based tenor saxophonist Christoph Irniger of the Quintet Pilgrim. We caught up with them about their sixth album called Human Intelligence Live, out on Intakt Records, along with his life and music. The music of this album defies all things artificial and was recorded at the Red Horn District in Bad Meinberg, Germany in November 2023. Christoph has been hailed as undoubtedly one of the greatest talents of his generation. In recent years, he has made a name for himself in a range of lineups, playing jazz, rock, and related musical styles. We cover some solid ground from his base in Zurich. Enjoy. It's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much on behalf of Pilgrim to take a minute out to talk about Human Intelligence Live and your life and music. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
So you're in Zurich right now, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm curious, before we get into this new album, right now we're on the 5-year anniversary of this pandemic, and I'm curious, how did you get through that pandemic time period, and how much has it influenced either this album or the way that you do things with music now?
The pandemic actually, uh, for me, it came at the point where there was a lot of stress in my life since, I mean, I have a family, I have 3 kids. They're all at school, and I am a touring musician, and I'm also teaching. So, especially the thing as a band leader became a bit. It was pretty stressing because I always was. I had to produce all the time to keep the band going or my bands going. So at that time there was a sudden stop, and in the first moment it was really hard, of course, for everybody. But then I was really lucky. I'm still really lucky to have a really solid teaching gig here in Zurich, um, which pays most of my bills. And we were able to teach via Zoom pretty fast. So what we did, we went to the mountains. We have a family house, and spring was absolutely fantastic at that year. So we spend the time in the mountains. I teached 3 afternoons, and the rest we had a lot of family time. And as well, I did not have to produce anymore for my bands, and also I did not have to actually did not have to practice anymore for that time to be to have good jobs all the time. So I could take, first, it was really about the family. And then when they started to get to school again, I was able to learn some new things. And one of the big things I learned was composition. I started to compose for orchestra, which I don't know if I would have time to do that, to really dive into that world when there won't be COVID actually. So for me, it was actually it had like two sides of the medal. Of course, I was not able to play, but I was able to dive into some new things.
So talk to me a little bit about this live album. How did this come about, and how do you ultimately feel about it?
So it was a coincidence. We did not plan to record the album. We were in the middle of a tour. I mean, Pilgrim was playing um, a good tour with a couple of gigs, and we were in pretty good shape at that time. And all of a sudden, there's this possibility to record at a nice place with really great gear and a great engineer. And then we played a great set. And right after the concert, we even did not think about that it was recorded, but then all of a sudden it came to our mind, and we were super happy because we felt it's a great album, and I'm really happy to present the music on a live album because I think this is where the power of the band is. It's about how we go through the to the pieces because we don't have a set list normally, and we play for 12 years together. We have a pool of a lot of pieces. Maybe it were like 20 or 30 pieces, and we went through some of them, not discussing about how we're going to play it. That's what we do all the time, and so it's an authentic picture of the band live on stage, and it's basically what is my main idea of that band is about how we play the music, and I mean it's also about the compositions, but they're kind of that's more the second thing. It's more like how we are going to play them, and so it makes totally sense. It's the second live album. We had one in I think 2016, and I think it's how the band works, and I'm super happy that we played a great set at that night.
So talk to me a little bit about your journey into the music. What, how did you get into playing music, and how, more specifically, jazz? How did that become your life?
Um, Jazz. I had a teacher when I started having classical saxophone lessons with the age of 10, and then when I was 15, there was a new teacher coming to our town, and he was super young. He just started studying jazz by himself. I think he was around 20 years, and I changed to him, and he showed me the basically it started with the blues scale, of course, and these Herbie Hancock standards such as Watermelon Man or Cantaloupe Island, um, or Chameleon, and I loved to play on those pieces, and the music came a little later. Started um, more in funk with Maceo Parker was the first record I remember, and then I had a big love for Tower of Power. That was really important. Mandrill, uh, and then uh, jazz, but still funk related with the Brecker Brothers or Bob Berg, Joe Farrell, and I think I was really getting into jazz when I started studying the music, and started listening mostly records of my dad. He did not have a lot of records, but he had an Oscar Peterson trio record and a Chick Corea acoustic band. And I remember listening to those records all over again. It was these days you had records at home, and you were just listening to these records on and on and on, always the same. And I know still all of those pieces. And then it started with the great saxophone players, one after the other. I think Dexter Gordon was my first love, and so on.
So, what was the first live jazz show you saw that really made an impact or made you think that was the kind of life you wanted to live?
I mean, the first, um, I mean, Maceo Parker comes to my mind because that blew my mind. But if you ask for jazz, oh, that's a good question. I mean, I saw so many concerts when I started studying jazz. I had we have At that time, we had one main jazz club in Zurich, and I had like the yearly ticket there, and I went to see so many things. Um, I cannot really remember what there was. Maybe I remember Les McCann. It's a hard question, but I have to think about it.
Yeah, no, you're fine with the Parker show. That makes total sense, and that's a wonderful answer. And you had kind of already talked about that a little bit. So let me ask you this: you've been at this for a little while. What is it that gets you up every day? What is it that you like the best about being a professional musician?
I mean, it's getting on stage with peers. That's the thing I love. I just had a session this morning, and I have like a weekly or every 2 weeks I have a session with two guys here from Zurich, and we always talk a lot before before we go to play. And I mean, it's not an easy time to be a jazz musician. I mean, it's less gigs and less money, etc., etc. And we always it always starts with sometimes with how hard it is to face this reality and etc. and on, but always turns into something positive because that's the thing which pays out for everything you do is just to play music together on stage, and like the pure joy in just practicing the saxophone, exploring music, composing, and also the people around. It's not only the musicians, it's also like just the people who are involved into jazz musicians, into jazz music, like the promoters, the journalists, the audience. It's like people who are enthusiasts and open-minded and and smart mostly. So it's always interesting just also to be in that kind of group of people.
So with each new album that you release, how do you like this one's obviously a live album to capture that essence live, but with other albums, how do you view releases? Is it kind of a look into where you're at that time in your life, or is it kind of an evolution of you as a player, or all the above? How do you go into each new project?
Um, I mean, we just it's interesting because we also talked about this morning with the guys. It's really, I think in the end, it's mostly organic, and it's something which is just showing me or my group at that time. Sometimes you start, of course, to think about what might be the best thing to do now. So, which could be like, so what is my aim? I wanna play as much gigs. So what brings me to the point where I can play as much gigs as possible, and at that point it might come to a business decision, which in the end, that's my what I or my opinion is not helping. So I try to just follow like an artistic vision and try to follow the idea just as organically as possible, and so recordings are showing um, are showing like a natural progress. But of course, I would never do two live recordings after each other. So speaking of this, the last album we did, Ghost Cat, there was a conscious decision to really play the pieces, the songs as songs, and not do it with improvisations in between the songs, or take them apart, or tell them differently. So it was really the idea to play the compositions as they are. Yeah. So
Yeah.
sometimes there are small adjustments, but basically it's an organic process.
So, over the years, you've gone to Berlin, you've gone to New York, you've had some collaborations with the likes of Nasheet Waits and Dave Douglas, lots of different people. And you've been around for a little while in this world of jazz music. What do you ultimately get from, these collaborations with big players and with your experience? What do you like to give to young players that get on the bandstand with you? What do you try to teach them about this art form, about being a musician?
I mean, it's like I mean, it's like learning a language. So I like to compare it. Actually, I think Victor Wooten is talking about this a lot. You can Google that. But the comparison with language. So there's a lot when you learn a language. First, it starts when you are a baby, is like just hearing the language and try to imitate the language. And then you start just to talk it without thinking. So the thinking comes later when learning a language, and also learning the rules, grammatics, the theory, learn how to express yourself or express emotions. Everything comes comes later when you grow. And I think what you learn in playing with the cats is just like that really basic thing, is just learn the intuitive way of how to express yourself. What you do when you are a baby, when you hear the parents speaking. So it's always. I mean, also we are like a second generation. I never saw Train live. I never saw Miles live, and playing with these cats who were able to really hear these guys, or even played with them, or learned from them, or just were closer to them, is just something they tell the real story, and it's kind of something in between the notes, in between the lines, which you just not can learn out of a book. It's something you just learn when you play with these cats. And that's actually the same why young musicians come to me, because I might can tell or teach them something of what I've witnessed when playing with the cats.
So let me ask you this. If you could catch a dream jazz show, any show in the history of jazz live, where would you go? Who would you love to have seen live?
Um, I mean, one of I would say okay, there are two things coming up to my mind, or a lot of things, but I would just say one of the great Miles Davis bands, either the Quintet, or so there's actually the two quintets, the one with Shorter, Ron Carter, Hancock, and Tony Williams, or the other quintet with um, what was that? Jack DeJohnette, Dave Holland, Shorter, I think Chick Corea, or the sextet, something like this with Coltrane, of course, something like that. Um, But
Yeah,
I mean, I've
yeah.
been super happy, and I mean, you asked me before about a major jazz show. I did not see it when I was young, but Wayne Shorter Quartet, that I saw it twice, and I think that might be the biggest thing I've ever saw. Once in Basel, I think they only played for 50 minutes, but it was some of the greatest 50 minutes of music I ever saw.
So let me ask you this. Everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, but you ultimately run your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Sorry, what can you describe perception?
This might be a hard one. I guess it's about perceptions. Everybody has perceptions of you. You know, you live your life and people see you in different ways, but ultimately, how do you see yourself? How do you see what you do in your life?
So in terms of so in terms of music or in general?
Probably in general, yeah, but music is a part of you, so probably just in general.
Hmm. Um, I mean, what I can, sorry, what I can, I mean, I probably could say what my aim is. I don't know if
Yeah.
it is really like this, but I think, I think what I really try, and I hope people notice that I try to do good in in around me. I'm just trying to keep for a good vibe and try to get together people. So people ask me a lot, is your music, does it have something political? But I'm actually not really, or I used to say I'm not really interested in politics. What I what I'm interested in is the society, and what's really important for me is just to, you know, to bring people together, to bring people together to listen to themselves, to communicate, and also just, you know, around, not only in music or as a musician or on stage, also just in daily life, to help out, to be around for people, to keep a good vibe. And you know, I I sometimes think, and also in just in these times we live now, I think I'm not able to change the world, but what I can change is just the vibe around me and around my area, around my neighborhood, um, around the community, and just try to help out and be here and do good. So it might come back or or have a positive effect.
So if anyone out there wants to pick up the new album, catch you live, anything else that you've done, any of the good business in your world, where can they go?
So the album is out everywhere on all the streams on and it's, you can order it from Bandcamp, and it's in the record stores and on Amazon and everywhere. And live, we're just trying to build a tour, which is at the moment mostly in Germany, and we've always been around in Europe, and of course available. And who knows? We've also have been to the US, but that was right before the pandemic. And who knows, if we could come back, would be great, of course.
This has been wonderful. Hey, thank you so much for taking a minute out to talk about the album, to talk about your life and music. I really appreciate it. Best of luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening and tuning into another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and minds in Switzerland, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Christoph for swinging on by the show. If you want to hear more Neon Jazz interviews, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends. Joe Domino here, host of KC's Neon Jazz Radio. On International Jazz Day, April 30th, join us at the Music Hall in downtown Kansas City for the event of the year, 90 Years of Count Basie's Swing. At 7 p.m., the world-famous Count Basie Orchestra takes the stage. From 5 to 7 p.m., it's a VIP reception with jazz legends and honorees. Finally, from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., join the after-party jam session at Lonnie's Reno Club inside the Ambassador Hotel. Tickets are moving fast. Get yours now at kccreativecity.com/count-basie. This event is part of International Jazz Day, supported by the UNESCO Creative Cities Network, with Kansas City proudly standing as America's only creative city of music. I'll see you there, Kansas City.